V-Mould is next-generation software that allows plastic injection mould designers a level of foresight that they've never had before. With it, they can see virtual prototypes of plastic parts, in this case car parts, and assess the mould design before it is used, resulting in quicker manufacturing and less waste.
Plastic injection moulding is when you take a hollow mould and inject plastic into it at high pressure. It's used to make all sorts of everyday objects, from car parts to toys.
It's always a very expensive process, and if you make a mistake, then of course all that expense gets thrown down the drain. It's very wasteful.
The problem that we were asked to solve is to create a simulator so that designers could see ahead of time how the plastic was going to flow through the mould. And the great thing about this is that it means that you need to create fewer physical prototypes, which is a very expensive process. Our involvement with the CSC has been great because their connections and funding certainly helped us to land the project.
Particularly important for the automotive industry because it improves the optimisation of production.
V-Mould has what we call knowledge-based engineering built in. Now that means that the die designer, as he's working on it, doesn't have to have all the skills and all the abilities that, say, an expert die designer would have because the V-Mould software has that built in. It's web-based. It doesn't have to have a dedicated piece of equipment.
This way they can access the technology for those occasions where they're designing new moulds, but without having to pay a lot of money for the actual software that they then only seldom use.
In the short term, this technology will lead to better car parts. But in the longer term, it could also be repurposed for simulation of high viscosity fluids in other fields.
It really breaks this barrier for the up-and-coming or the starting out die designers. And what we can now provide them with is a tool to help them just step up to making top quality designs.